Hello everyone, Sridhar here. Welcome to Sridhar's newsletter and the podcast show called Minimalist Techie. Appreciate you being here so we can connect weekly on the interesting topics. If you have not yet subscribed to my newsletter, sridhargargipati.substack.com, you can just click on subscribe now, add your email ID so you can directly get this post into your inbox. If you are the fan of just not reading, if you're not a fan of reading, that if you're most fan of just listening, then you can always subscribe the show Minimalist Techie on Apple Podcast or Spotify or on YouTube. Yeah, last week onwards, I'm posting the same podcast on YouTube as well, so you can just hear it on those platforms, or you can the link which you are receiving on your email, you can just click a play button, or you can directly launch the URL sridhargaripati.substack.com, and you can just click play button on each episode and just listen to it. So this newsletter, if you are new, so this mostly this newsletters is all about articles, books, videos I read or watch on my views on a different topics which revolves around my head during the week. Today's episode is on current state of education in US, international students in the US, and the disconnect between universities, job markets, and the very harsh reality faced by the graduate students. So let's deep dive. So US universities have urged this week, has urged international students to return to campus before Trump inauguration. Yeah. So if you're hearing this for a very first time, you'll be shocked that this article has been the top news story of the week. So universities in the US are actually urging their international students to return to the country before the potential political change occur in January 28th, especially with the possibility of Donald Trump being sworn in again. So the fear stems from the potential changes in the immigration rules, policies, so visa rules that could impact students' ability to stay in the US. This has created uncertainty among the students and their families, universities, as they are now worried about completing their education and securing job in the US. But let's keep the political stuff aside. Read more on the story with the CNN link which I have shared. That gives you much more in-depth story on that article. But you need to understand why this news actually made the top news story of this week and which made it headlines in the national news, right? So, very high level, this simply looks like because in 2016, when Trump came in, so Trump restricted entry to the US from few of the nations, right? And he had some travel ban. So the people from the few countries they cannot travel to US. So universities are just taking extra precaution action to let their students return back to the US before the Trump inauguration. Yeah, but that's not the reality. Keep the political. Every 4 year, a new president comes and goes, right? So let's keep the political stuff aside. This is not just about the travel bans which may come up. There is a dark reality behind this news, actually. Yeah. So that's the reason we want to talk about this. Like, there is definitely you need to understand why such a news about an international student, because every country, every developed country allows. Multiple international students into their country in order to pursue higher educations, right? So this is pretty normal in many of developed countries, right? So let's get into the more details. So one thing we need to understand why university is making this request, right? So I'll share you one link from the open doors data, so you can look into the overall chart actually. So in 2024 to 2023 and 2024 itself, the total number of international students in the US has actually increased by 7% to record high number of 1 million students almost. A number of international students coming to US in 2023 has broken records actually, surpassing even the pre-pandemic levels. Universities have been offering more seats for the postgraduate programs to the international students, prioritizing revenue without factoring in the jobs market ability to absorb these graduates. Yeah. So this influx of students has led to oversaturation in some fields, particularly in the technology and the computer science area. And also like students moving here, international graduate students and the students on the OPT has reached a record highs in last couple of 3 to 4 years. The number of international students who remained in the United States to gain the practical work experience through this OPT program called Optional Practical Training Program has reached a record high of 0.2 million students, an increase of 22% more than the previous year. Yeah, I think definitely click on the link. I think go through the particular chart. The particular chart actually, will, when you look into it, you'll definitely surprise. One of the key findings from that chart, what you'll find is the United States has hosted at an all-time high of more than 1.1 million international students. 1.1 million, right? So the number of new international students who are actually enrolling in last 4 years is astronomically high. And it's not just the universities. At the same time, the students are also like having like a record high number of students are actually applying for the OPT after their graduation. Which so that particular program is more like after your graduation you can stay in US for 3 years if you are having a job after your graduation. If you have a job after your graduation, then based upon your job, you can utilize those 3 years to remain in US in order to train your skill set, right? India is a top sending country for the first time since 2009, especially in 2023 and 2024. It's not just India, China. Like you look into the chart, you'll understand. I think I'll not go much detail. I think definitely let the numbers speak to it. You will be definitely surprised with the total number of students who are actually moving on a year on year. Especially if you just look at the numbers from 2022 till 2024 itself, you will see like overall percentage growth has really increased. Like, so these many number of students are coming in order in a hope of pursuing their post graduation, right? But none of them are actually evaluating. Neither the universities are making sure that is what are they currently they're educating or do the market really provides the jobs in the market or not, right? So market really to have any jobs really related to the skill set what they're currently gaining in the universities. Yeah, so there is a disconnect between universities and the job markets for sure. Many universities are actually increasing enrollment in the post graduate programs, ignoring the availability of the jobs in those fields. Universities are mainly focused either on the revenue for filling the seats rather than the actual job based upon the market conditions. Students both international and also the domestic are actually graduating with higher expectations of lucrative jobs that may not exist at all actually. So the gap between academic programs and the industry needs are widening more, leaving the graduates get frustrated and also getting underpaid actually in the current market, right? So definitely, if you see the link which I have shared, if you look into a total number of students who are coming, just do a simple sir. You don't have to be a data science scientist for this thing. Run a simple math. If you are an international student who are applying for a student visa to any developed country, please make sure that how many number of students are coming year on year, right? How many number of jobs are really available in the market, right? That's like a pretty basic. If you're already spending 2 years of your time in order to end the post graduation degree and you want to again on job training skills after that, you have this is a pretty basic check, right? You have to make sure that there's really a job for that particular education. Computer science looks a pretty niche skill, but even for that you need to understand what the current US market is going on, right? Without that, making a decision moving to a different country altogether, restarting your life is not at all a good decision, right? Okay, we need definitely anyone who we need to understand, even not just international students or even for especially international students or domestic students, right, who are actually looking into a because mostly international students are applying for computer science, so they're looking into a tech job market. If you're really applying, then you definitely have to look into US tech job market reality, right? So US job market has been very volatile with the massive layoffs from companies like Google, Amazon, Meta, Intel over the past year, right? Entry level positions in technologies have become scarce, making it challenge for new graduates to secure any employment. Even when the graduate finds a job, uh, many are actually underpaid, earning as low as $35 per hour or 70K per annum. 70K per annum looks pretty good if at all you're going to work in some rural location in the US. But most of these tech jobs are concentrated in bigger cities like San Francisco, Seattle, New York, Boston, Washington D.C., right? Chicago. So this pay after you graduating is completely unsustainable due to the very high cost of living in those areas, which often requires income of 135K or more to live comfortably. And yeah, I think anyone, if you want to understand, I think just simply Google for medium household income for your county where you're living. If I just Google for my own county in Loudoun County in US, it is 155K something per annum. That's the average median household income. A person has to make that much amount, or a household, a combined household should actually have that particular gross amount now to have a comfortable life, right? So if you see, really these postgrad students are actually hardly making a pay which is half half of actually the medium household income. So government itself is saying in order to have a sustainable life in certain locations, certain cities, you need to make 150K, 135K as a minimum pay, right? And the graduate and the students are actually post graduating getting into this underpaid job, which is definitely going to impact their mental health, right? If you're not financially stable, keeping your mental health in a good state is also not possible. Financially stability is very very important before you can focus on your additional career growth, your personal growth, right? Yeah. So without having financial stability, it causes a lot of impact on your mental health as well. Just look into the last metrics like the challenges for 2022 and 2023 batches of the students. The 2022 batch of postgraduate students have already started entering into the job market in 2024 after June or July, and it's been more than 6 months. But many are still struggling to find job in the 6 months in their OPT period. Right? In 2023, the batch will again face much greater challenges in 2025 because the US tech job market continues to struggle with the layoffs and the economic uncertainty. International students are actually facing additional challenges as they have limited time during their OPT to secure employment or they risk losing their legal status in US. If you're only coming to US in order to have your post graduation on some niche skills which is not available in your country, then yes, it make a sense like you can just come here and you're financially stable enough that you have money at your cash at your hand. You can just come here, do your post graduation, and if you want to go back, then yeah, you're always welcome to go to any developer country, right? But if you are financially not stable, you definitely need to understand these today's topic what we are discussing, right? Without having these basic metrics at your hand, you should not be making such a decision, right? Because you can already see the challenges which the 2022 batch postgraduate students are currently making in the market. Just talk to any of your senior, they can give you their current mental health, what's going through in their life, right? Salary disparity and cost of living. So this is not just for international students. This is something in the economy perspective itself. Many jobs which are actually offered to the international or the domestic student in the tech are actually paying much below the market expectation. COVID has actually changed the entire ball game. During COVID, actually people are actually lost jobs or people have went remote. At least in tech, one thing which we have noticed is post COVID for a year people were just making sure to secure their jobs, right? So they were just making sure that we have a lot of uncertainty in the world and they were just making sure that they can just secure their job. It means without any pay hikes, anything, any promotions, any pay hikes, people have executed their entire 1 year of working life in order to secure the job. And employers are also took an advantage, and they have seen that the work which is supposed to done with the 10 member during the COVID time, people who are desperate to keep their jobs, the same amount of work were being done with a much reduced team. Uh, previously, the work was done by 10 team members. Now the same work is being done by five or four team members. Right. So definitely the market wise, last 4 years, a lot of changes are there. Living expenses, especially in the major cities, make it nearly impossible for graduates to save money or pay off the student loans. Students are increasingly questioning the return on investments of US higher education, given the low starting salary compared to the high cost of education and the living. So, what is the university's role in this crisis, right? So, universities are also failing both international students and the domestic students by overselling the promise of well paying jobs after graduation. They are prioritizing their financial gain, enrolling record number of students, and not considering the long term impact on the students' careers. US universities have been criticized for not offering adequate support to the international students, such as career counseling, job placement, assistance, or realistic expectation about the job prospects. So this issue is not just for the international, domestic students too are suffering due to the skyrocketing tuition fees, student loan debt, with no guarantee of securing the jobs that allow them to pay off this debt. So you'll definitely see like a lot of shift is happening, shifting trends in education actually. More domestic students in the US are actually opting out of traditional 4 year college programs due to the high cost and the poor job market outcomes. I'll say it again, pay attention if you are an international student. More and more domestic students in US are actually opting out of traditional 4 year college programs due to the high cost and the poor job market outcomes, right? Yeah, I'm sharing one of the link from PBS. It will explain you why more Americans are actually skipping the college. You can go over that particular link in detail. But yeah, just go through that particular link. You'll able to understand uh, a US born citizen itself, the domestic students are themselves are actually opting out. If you see the percentage of the kids out of 100, hardly 61 students are actually pursuing 4 year graduation after their high school, which means more than 39 kids are actually are no longer pursuing higher education after 4 years. The reason is again same thing. Current tuition fees are so high that people who are actually completing their post graduation or the post grad, and it's taking near to 6 to 7 years for them in order to complete their student loans. By the time they are already into their 30, and once they are into their 30s, then they are too late from a financial perspective in order to invest for their retirement, invest or invest for their very first home. You can see the struggle of current generation of 30-year-old. You can clearly see what that education system has done to their financial status actually. So if a US student itself is actually making this particular shift in their education, international students should definitely, you are actually leaving your country, you are coming to an completely a different country, you're restarting your life here with a completely new set of friends without any family support, right? You should be even more cautious when you're making such a decision. You should understand how much is the tuition fee, can I afford that, or if I'm taking loan, is really the job after your education is paying the enough wages for you to clear that particular student loan. How is the job market, right? You need to understand these basic things actually, right? So instead the students are instead so what US students are doing, so US students are actually instead they are what continuing their 4 year college graduation. The trend is, so the most of the trend is they're actually enrolling in a short term skill based programs. So I'll just talk more from a tech perspective, but uh, go over that particular link which I have shared why more Americans are skipping college. That will give you overview of other than tech jobs. right? But coming to the tech, how they are gaining this short term skill based programs, such as like Google has like 6 month certification, which are much more affordable, hardly like $35 or $40 per month, and in a 6 months without any prior experience, you'll be able to gain a skill set in one of the topmost critical jobs which Google feels, and they are into their courses are also into what currently industry needs, right? Those courses are into cyber security, into data analytics, IT support, project management, UX design, right? So look into that, grow with Google, like, it's hardly, if you compare your college tuition fee and compare $40 per month for 6 months, right? Just tally your number, you'll be shocked with it. And organizations are also moving, because organizations are also no longer looking whether you are a 4 year graduate student or you're a postgraduate student, right? Yeah, definitely for PhD and very high skilled jobs, definitely they'll be looking for that, whether you are having the specialization into those. But if you're doing a regular jobs of 100K, 150K, 200K type of jobs, right? If you're doing those type of jobs which are not that very high skilled, then you definitely need to look. Kids are actually looking into this short term based, and they're directly entering into the job market right after the high school with doing some short term skill based programs, right? So companies like Google has like Google, Microsoft has Microsoft Learn, are actually offering these alternate pathways to the employment that challenge the traditional educational model, such as online courses, job specific training, right? And you can take those certificates, and once you have your actual practical experience in the field, then you can directly do your interviews. And organizations are also right now encouraging uh, the person who is actually having a good resume, which means a person who is actually having able to clear their interviews, right? That's the person is what organizations are looking. They are not looking whether you have done so and so X course or a 4 year course or 10 years course. No, I think what they are looking whether for a s- job specific perspective, what skill set you have, right? That's the main thing. What organization also looking for. Yeah, but this trend is mainly happening in US, not in India. India is still attached to you should be having a BTech degree, you should be having master's degree, you should be having 70 percentile, or I think nowadays they are doing GPAs, but yeah, I think at least like 65 or 75 percentile as a cutoff, even to enter into a job market. But this is something, the shift in trend, I'm talking more from a US education, because our topic is mainly international students who are actually migrating, right? So you need to understand why the domestic students are also making this shift in their education trend, right? So these programs actually provide students with the practical skills in months. Like in a grow.google, if you see that Google certificates, that's hardly like 6 months rather than 4 years or 6 years of course, and the cost is actually the fraction of the cost of a traditional college degree. The This is for like outdated narrative around education. So the old belief that the pursuing a postgraduate degree guarantees a high paying job in a top tier company no longer holds true in a US job market. And especially for international students, don't follow the outdated narrative what happened 10 years ago, right? Look into the current US job market. Don't simply make an assumption that you'll be doing a post graduation degree and you'll be having a 3 years of OPT at your hand, and in those 3 years of OPT in hand, you really going to gain some high skills while doing the job. The pay is really good enough for you to clear your student loan, right? So students are also following this outdated advice without considering the current realities, such as economic instability, a competitive job market, or a rising in the living cost. Many students are not researching the job market trends. relying instead on the assumption that the US degree will automatically lead them to success. Yeah, these are the problems. So this is a dark reality which we are already seeing. The graduates of 2022 batch who are already in the market from May or June 2024 onwards, right? So the path for the future for 2025 is much more challenging. The large number of students actually graduating in 2025, so these are the kids who actually came in during 2023, will likely be overwhelmed the job market further, especially in the fields like computer science and the data analytics. Students need to start exploring alternative career paths, upskilling in the niche areas and networking early to improve their chance of employment. International students must also prepare for uncertainties surrounding visa rules, OPT timelines, and the job search challenges. Yeah, so there's a greed for universities as well. There's a greed from the student as well. I think without knowing I think keep the greed aside. I think students should at least should be making a decision based upon what are some pros and cons, right? I think that's what my main point for today's topic actually. Yeah, universities must also actually align their academic offerings with the job market demands, whether they reduce the tuition fee or not. But yeah, there's at least they can at least reduce the number of seats which they are giving, which doesn't match with the job market demands. And especially we can see in the popular fields like computer science. They should offer more transparent data on the career outcomes, helping students make informed decision about their education, right? Career counseling, internship, partnership with the industry leaders should be mandatory to prepare students for the job market. Universities should also advocate for the policy changes that support international students, such as extended OPT timelines or the simplified visa processes. Yeah, my only advice for students or families, do research the job market in your chosen field before committing to a 4 year degree or a 2 year post grad degree, right? Consider the cost of living in the area where you plan to work after your graduation and how much income you will need to break even. Look into alternative education paths like certifications, boot camps that actually provides practical skills in the shorter time frame. Network early and gain practical experience through internships and focus on acquiring in demand skills to improve employability. Yeah, I think this advice is like combination for both the US students or international. But if you are international students, for you, this particular advice of doing an alternative education program like doing certifications is all. Yeah, this is something is not helpful for you if you're applying from a developing to a developed country, right? So, but you have to review your own country of origin, and then see. Especially like from India, I clearly know India still has the taboo with the educational system that you have to be a graduate, you have to be a postgraduate with certain cutoff percentages, even to start applying for the jobs, right? So, but I'm just talking. This advice is more of alternative education. What I think the reason is you need to understand why US students are actually skipping colleges, why US students are actually taking this alternate education path, right? The reason is students are actually reviewing the current job market, students are reviewing the amount of student loan they are taking, right? In the job, are the wages are really up to the market? No, because it's taking more than 6 to 7 years for them to clear their student loan, right? So, if a domestic student is doing this level of an analysis, I think as an international student coming to US, you should not get into this trap of universities just pulling the students in order to fill their pockets, right? You need to do much more thorough analysis why you are moving, right? Why you are coming here, coming to going abroad for an education. Like what will happen after your education? Will you make break even or not, right? So it's pretty important that you do this, to have this metrics on your hand so that you are making a better decision. See, yeah, closing thoughts. The US educational system is actually facing a major crisis with students graduating into a market that cannot meet their expectation or needs. Universities needs to prioritize students' future over their own financial gain. Students and families must make informed decision, keep the current economic and the job market realities in mind. It's time for a shift in how we view education and the career preparation, moving away from the outdated models toward practical and skill based learning. Yeah, that is all for this week. See you again. Do let me know in comments or reply me over email to share what is your view on this post. So share, like, subscribe, whatever these days kids says. Stay connected, share ideas, spread happiness. Thank you. Bye bye.